Let's move away from the economy in the limited time we have left. Give us your sense, give us your views on some other issues.
Sure.
Abortion, you are what?
Pro-life. But we should leave that issue to the states to decide. That Roe versus Wade. I think that
pro-life across the board.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in the case of a teenage girl, 16-year-old girl who is raped by a relative?
This is a tragedy of immense proportions, but I am 100% pro-life, and
no exceptions?
Well, the thing is, the states have to determine it. I'm not going to determine it.
People watching this program
Sure.
sometimes, Professor, don't understand all the arcane differences in the federal system, which basically means not the federal government, but different levels of government, that they have different responsibilities. So that we can understand from your perspective,
Sure.
Do you believe that there is not a single case in which abortion is justified, including a young girl who was raped, as well as the health of a woman whose health is compromised by being pregnant? In either case?
Well, if the life of the mother, clearly,
the health of the mother.
If it's a life-threatening illness, again, it's not up to me to determine that. It's up to the state legislature.
I'm asking you what you think.
I think you do not kill life for reasons that do not have anything to do with preserving life.
So if a 16-year-old girl is raped by a stepfather, you believe she should have to have that child?
I believe it's up to the legislature to determine.
But you
that,
personally, but your personal convictions are that
if we believe that life is sacred, if we believe that innocent life should not be harmed, then I think morally there's a problem with that. Now, what legally will be done is up to the state legislature.
So,
to decide.
so you're saying, so if the state legislature of New Jersey says otherwise than what you believe, then you support the state legislature of New Jersey.
Absolutely.
And if the state legislature of Wyoming is different than the state legislature of California, that's the way it should be because they reflect the popular will of those states?
That's exactly what the founders...
So morally, you believe what?
That life should be protected. All innocent life should be protected. I think it's a very fundamental principle of the human existence, that the human life should be protected.
Stem cell research.
Again, that should be left up... It should be... Here's the point. It should not be left up to the government to take money from people who don't believe in it to pay for it. That, I think, is a very fundamental principle of freedom of conscience.
Go back again, because now you've opened up an interesting Pandora's box, because if you are saying that the government should not take any money out of our pockets unless we believe in the government policy that is going to be funded, because there are a whole range of areas, Doctor, that's going to be a problem, because how would you say, I don't agree with that policy, you're not getting my money?
Well, here's why the founders were so brilliant in putting together this Constitution. And I think we've gone so far away from what the founders envisioned for America with the blueprint, is they said, keep it simple, keep government limited, keep taxes low and indirect, let the states do what they want to do, and we would have this great experiment in a Republican government, small r Republican government, constitutional government, where people across the country would have diversity in terms of how we govern ourselves. And that brilliance, I think, has been forgotten by the American people and certainly by our leaders.
But I think what Steve is getting at, I mean, there's people who violently disagree, perhaps even more than you do, about this war, and would prefer not to pay taxes that would go to that war. What do you do about those people? I mean,
well, certainly, if you don't pay your taxes, there are consequences. You have to take the consequences for actions that the government deems
But you said we shouldn't be taking tax dollars from people to support programs that they don't believe in.
Well, the point is, if it comes up for a vote, you have to decide, is this going to be in the best interest of my constituents? Is this in the best interest of the country? Is this consistent with the Constitution? Those are the principles you have to abide by when you're casting a vote for legislation in the Congress. You just can't have a whim and say, I believe in this. Listen, I have a personal opinion. People should not smoke. But I don't want to oppose that on the American people.
Well, let's talk about it. You know, that's very libertarian. And I was wondering, you ran as a libertarian in 1997 for governor, got 5% of the vote, were the first, I think, third-party candidate in the history of New Jersey to get matching state funds. Sure. Almost cost the election for Christy Whitman that year, according to most people. But so for a third-party candidate, you did very well. As a libertarian, you're running as a Republican now. But are you still philosophically, would you consider yourself philosophically still a libertarian?
I would say when I joined the Republican Party in 1969 at age 22, I haven't deviated from those principles that caused me to join the Republican Party in 1969. And when I found out that there was this thing called this libertarian philosophy, I said, these guys sound like Republicans. And so I have no... I've been consistent for 40 years in my philosophy of limited government and free enterprise. So the labels, I think, are irrelevant. The question is, what should government do?
Well, let me ask you, the reason I bring that up is because the case of prostitution has come up in the news lately because of what happened to former Governor Spitzer in New York. He was caught patronizing prostitutes. Many libertarians believe that it's a ridiculous crime, that prostitution should not be illegal, that nothing should be illegal unless it's harmful to either party or to some other third party. What's your stand on prostitution?
Again, leave it to the locals to decide. That's what we have democracy for.
The locals?
Local, I'm talking about local government or state government. Listen, we have zoning laws that are local.
In your view, should prostitution be decriminalized?
I think for people who do things that we may not approve of, they're going to do it anyway.
So you're saying yes, it should be legalized?
Well, the thing is, we have it legal in
parts of the country.
Doctor, I got to tell you something. For people watching right now, one of the things it seems to me that we get, the emails we get, all the surveys out there say they really would love to hear a straight answer. And sometimes it's yes or no, and sometimes it's more complicated. Do you believe, yes or no, that prostitution should be legal in this country?
It's not up to me to determine it. All I believe in is that the government, if it's
you
going
are
to...
running for the United States Senate. People want to know what your views are.
Personal view, just like your personal view on...
You got a lot of views about a lot of things.
On life, your personal view on life.
Sure.
You
were
made
very
it clear.
That you didn't say, when we asked you about what's your view on abortion, I asked you, you didn't say, well, it's up to everyone to decide. You said, I am pro-life. Question, do you support prostitution being legal in this country?
Again, it's not for me to
Do you
decide
think
what
it should
the
be?
law
Let me put it
should
this
be.
way. Do you think it should be? Do you think it makes sense that it is not?
Well, the point is...
I think the people who vote for you would like to know the answer.
Well, the point is, it's not something that's going to come by the United States Senate. It's something that local governments have to decide. It's a state
A lot of
and
issues
local
don't come before the United States
Sure.
Senate, but one of the reasons they don't come before it is because people are afraid to vote on it. They don't want to vote on it. But again, people want to have a sense of you, and they hear the term libertarian, respectfully, Doctor, and they're not sure exactly what it means. So some people think it's no government at all, let people do what they want. And I know it doesn't mean that. So that helps us understand,
Listen,
and Raphael brings up a great point. If someone sees something as a victimless crime, potentially in this case prostitution, one more time, do you believe it should be decriminalized?
If that's what the public wants, that's what's going to be. The polls show the public doesn't want that.
Okay. Well, in about 30 seconds we have left, it's the Republican primary has become more contentious than most primaries are. You have attacked the chairman of the Republican Party. You have
Tom Wilson?
Tom Wilson. You have publicly called him incompetent, and that was one of the nicer things you said.
You're very direct about that.
Now, if you should win the party's nomination, are you going to be able to work with Tom Wilson, who's going to be in charge of trying to get you elected?
Well, I think that's the responsibility of the state chairman, is to get Republicans elected. The point is, we're running a race to win because there are so many issues on the table that are so monumental for the future of this country. That's why I'm in this race.
And in 15 seconds, if you don't win the nomination, you will support any Republican candidate who wins for the United States Senate?
And I hope they take the views that I've articulated during this campaign, which is we need to change course quickly.
Thank you, Professor. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And that's it for this edition of Inside Trenton. For my colleague Steve Adubato, I'm Raphael Pieramont. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.